What's up, CSBA? What's going on, guys? I figured we'd do a little bit of a midday afternoon, a little wired up here to talk a little bit about these signings. No co-host, sorry about that, but thought it'd be interesting to kind of give you my thoughts so far on what we've seen from what's been posted in commitments from the letter of intents. Just kind of looking at the screen here so far. Seth Starr off the board first one to announce goes to Notre Dame. Certainly a player at Kansas that could certainly help the Fighting Irish, obviously in need of players. Lost a few players, a few seniors from their roster in the offseason. And certainly adding to that with the shooting guard Seth Starr, certainly in my opinion, a good signing and a good way to start the day. Starr should add some credibility to the backcourt of Notre Dame. Excited for him to start there. I believe Notre Dame also has another big announcement incoming here, probably somewhat soon. I certainly see that acquisition, which I'm aware of, going to the Irish certainly will also help them out a ton, but that one is yet to be confirmed, so therefore I cannot talk about it. Second to come off the board everywhere, huge get for Houston. Houston now even deeper at the guard spot with Mr. Diddle now everywhere. Should be a lethal combination in that backcourt. We saw Ware do a phenomenal job last season. At Washington, was one of their leading scorers. So for Houston, that is a big-time get. Excited for that signing, actually. Ware should really even bring Houston, who is known to get a good superstar here or there, to what usually is a pretty deep roster. So getting Ware certainly should add to them. I like the pickup for Houston. Didn't see Ware going there, to be honest with you, but I do know Ware is very tight with X-Face as well as Diddle, and from what I heard from Ware specifically from behind the scenes, probably one of the best pitches he received, bar none, out of everybody. And a lot of times, David, a.k.a. Everywhere, likes to go somewhere to help a team. He's a very league-first kind of mentality, but he said, usually I don't get pitched this way. And he goes, it was just really hard to look away from Houston. So congratulations to Houston. Big get for them. Then we switched and flipped the script to Wichita State. Dallas Walker off the board, waiting for the letter of intent to be signed. That's the reason why Walker is not yet on a team and showing that he still has his transfer portals, because the commitment confirmation has to be done by the coach. But just looking at Walker, certainly a nice piece. They have Fallow at center. I think this will make Wichita State a little deeper at the center spot, which is good. Something they needed last year. Didn't have a lot of talent on their team, and I think this is the first of a few big announcements that you'll see from the Shockers today, at least from what I'm hearing. But obviously, we have not seen those players posted yet, so therefore cannot confirm or deny. But I will say Wichita State, with the addition of Dallas Walker, should certainly help the cause for the Shockers in Conference USA. So we've got two Conference USA players being announced right here in the very first three players to come off the board. Flipping the script to Jerry Booker, certainly played an instrumental part in that Arizona State Sun Devil offense. Booker coming over to San Diego State certainly will help their offense in a significant way. Booker, I know last year probably did not have to carry the load at Arizona State, but was one of the focal points in their offense. But was not always asked to carry the load. I think he's going to have, obviously, a lot more responsibility at San Diego State. The Aztecs can certainly use Booker in a big way, adding to their current roster. I think, looking at it, they're a little heavier on the forward sides, not so much in the backcourt. Booker coming over, huge signing for San Diego State, in my opinion. I'd like to see what the Aztecs can do this season. Obviously, lost a few pieces, either to being seniors or transfers. So, Booker coming over is a huge get for the Aztecs. Like where it's going. See if they can build on that. I'm not sure if it. I don't know on the rumor section if there's any additional signings coming for San Diego State in the transfer portal, but if this is the one they get out of it, kudos to them. Certainly a big-time player in grabbing Jerry Booker. Flip the script back to the Big Ten, Michigan State. Big get for Matt P. and the Spartans, obviously being rebranded back from Richmond to Michigan State. Michigan State certainly a team that last year, as Richmond, struggled at times. We're in a lot of games, very competitive, but struggled a lot. Specifically, we know Matt P. loves the guards. Michigan State has always been pretty guard-heavy during Matt P's tenure as coach, and grabbing McMaple Bacon coming over from Stanford, who was a little bit more of in a secondary role there. So I think this is a really good get for the Spartans. I could see Bacon taking a huge step forward for their franchise, for their university and their school, and seeing the Sparty backcourt kind of set. They've got some good players in the backcourt now. Adding Bacon to run point, I think, will be huge. It might take a little bit of the pressure off of some of their other guards. The question is, what is Michigan State going to do with their bigs? Lost a few bigs in the offseason. Will they address that here in the transfer portal? Is this the last signing from Sparty? I do not know. I think that as we kind of scroll down, I just saw Ty Bird was posted to Michigan State as well, so another guard for their backcourt. Certainly Spartans set in the backcourt. Who will they have to go after to try to nab a big man? Will that happen in the transfer portal? Will that happen during regular prospect recruiting that begins tomorrow? Certainly, I could see that being their focal point. I know there are a lot of bigs out there to get, so Michigan State looks, with the addition of Ty Bird and Bacon, certainly securing their backcourt and making it pretty formidable. So I'm curious to see what they do with the front court. On the flip side, as we switch to Mississippi State, I felt like it was a huge signing day in the transfer portal for Mississippi State, as Dime Hardaway, a.k.a. Ralph Lumley, really went to work in this portal. We've got 4 transfers already coming over, in addition to Lumley, in addition to a new freshman assistant head coach, Napa Know-How, a.k.a. Napa Know-How coming over to be assistant head coach. So they basically got 60% of their roster already locked down. Huge start for them. Probably will make regular recruiting easier for them, but Mississippi State nabs Mr. I Can Shoot, a.k.a. J-Rock Mangham, small forward coming over, as well as Zeus Williams coming from Texas. Certainly Williams had a more of secondary role with Texas, but I could see him being thrust right into that center spot. There's a lot of lineage there. The original Zeus Williams, the first, was a solid center, so I could see Zeus in this particular case, his son, really taking a stronghold for that front court position. They add Gerald Pope to the backcourt to run point, and then Alexander McQuinn at power forward. So if you look at those 4 signings alone, forgetting about Ralph Lumley and Napa Know-How, you pretty much almost got you got 4 of your 5 potential starting 5 right there. If you add Lumley and Know-How. And I'm not sure, obviously this is just all speculation, but who out of those guys will actually take a step forward to grab those starter spots? Because we could see Mississippi State go to work in regular recruiting, and who's to say this is the last of those signings? So we'll have to wait and see, but I really do like the 4 signings from Mississippi State that should give them a nice nucleus to start. In addition to that, just looking at the next signing, Dallas Turner. I actually didn't think Oregon had room to sign a a transfer, but in this particular case, I guess they did. We'll have to check that on the cap perspective because I'm not sure, but I would imagine they do. I know Coach Hubba is not somebody that messes up and makes mistakes on cap, but Turner is a nice addition to that Oregon Ducks team who went really far last year. I love that Oregon did not have to have much turnover on their team. I'm excited. Yeah, but pausing real quick. This is all the team servers here, so this isn't even open. But yeah, I'm in a lot. Some of these are modding communities and stuff like that. So just a heads up there. On a side note, sorry if you continue the conversation there about Oregon. Love what Oregon has done last season. Certainly some players who are more senior. You look at Eaton Letterman Jr. As an example of a player that I think, Oregon is going to try to make one more deep run. I really like what they've done. They haven't had to make huge turnover decisions, and adding Dallas Turner just makes them even stronger. So like what Oregon did there, even though that's probably they're probably more than likely one and done on the signings there. Let's flip the script to the Big East. Penny Dimes, that's a huge get for Providence. Did not see that. As a matter of fact, there were a lot of rumors that Dimes was visiting a lot of teams across the CSBA. Dimes, obviously last year's Player of the Year, All-American all around, and just was killing it. Sadly, though, on South Carolina, it wasn't as deep, so they could only go as far as Dimes could take him last year. However, when you look at Providence, and Providence has kind of been that kind of team in the Big East where they more or less were like a middle of the pack team. They had some good players. Lance Kabongo comes to mind. LeChef Moses comes to mind. They've lost a few pieces. Guys graduating. However, Dimes moving over to Providence really gives them a jolt to their offense. And I really like what they're gonna do with the addition of him offensively. The question is, can him and Kabongo coexist? Who's going to get the ball? Are they going to look away from Kabongo and let Kabongo just do a lot of what Gunakis has done or did for Iowa last year, being that rebound guy, blocking guy defensively, and focus less on the offensive side of the ball? So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Providence, but I do like that pickup of Penny Dimes. Providence certainly has taken a step forward with that signing. Whether that'll be their one and only, I do not know. But I think for Providence specifically, excuse me, my wife had just called my phone. Hold on. Sorry, I got to text her back. Give me 1 second. I apologize. She probably wasn't expecting me to be on a stream. Pause for the calls for 2 seconds if you don't mind. He's asleep at the moment. Sorry, back to the thing. So Dimes, obviously a huge, huge get for Providence. I'm curious to see how that fits, because we've seen players sometimes not necessarily fit into a system. So I'd be curious to see how that pans out for Providence. But can't look away to getting one of the most top offensive players in the CSBA in the signing of Dimes. We talked a little bit about McQuinn joining Mississippi State with Pope, Mr. I Can Shoot, Zeus Williams. So again, we talked about those four already. Just seeing this one here for the first time, I must have missed it earlier. Andre Romano to Ohio State, formerly of South Carolina. Certainly a good role player for the Bobcats. Ohio certainly needs to round out their roster, so certainly a good addition. And we've seen what Firebird has been able to do previously at Florida State, getting to the Final Four last year, and really taking that team far, actually to the finals rather. So appreciate that sub there, drop, aka Kai Avery. Appreciate that. Romano to Ohio. I think that'll give Ohio some more depth. Certainly a good player who could start and be one of their starters, or could be more of a depth player for them. So the Bobby's certainly trying to figure that out as we go here. But certainly the addition of Andre Romano from South Carolina is certainly going to be a big get for them. Whether, like I said, whether that's a starter or a depth piece, I do not know. But we'll have to see how that team kind of comes together and rounds out. Vasiliki Gunakis, the rebound king himself, big time get for St. John's. New St. John's new program. I really like his ability to rebound. I mean, when you can get a guy to come in and rebound the way Gunakis does, Gunakis doesn't give you a ton offensively, but if you fill in the players around him, Gunakis will go to work. He reminds me a lot of Ray Seymour from last year. That junkyard dog, that guy that's going to get in and do all the dirty work. Gunakis is a great add, in my honest opinion. Played, I think, the 4 a lot for Iowa last year. I really like what Gunakis can do. He did it at Oregon. He did it at Iowa. Now he's probably going to do it at St. John's. So certainly a good get for the Johnnies. We talked a little bit about Ty Bird at Michigan State already. Bird and McMaple Bacon going to be good for that Spartans offense. I can see the Sparty doing really well with that deep backcourt. Now they need to focus on their front court. Miko Palatine to Iowa is huge. Just being able to get a player of that caliber for Iowa. We've seen Palatine do it at Virginia Tech. Probably will have even more of a bigger role here at Iowa. We know Iowa loves their bigs, and Cobb's new player is a center as well. So Pax's new player rather is a center as well. So they'll be pretty set at the center position. I could even Palatine coming in certainly, a good get. And then they added Gene Bernard in the AHC portal. So Bernard plays a small forward spot. So Iowa starting to try to make some moves, trying to strengthen their roster more than they have had in the past. The last few seasons have been a little bit of a down year for Iowa. Huge gets for the Hawkeyes. Love what they're doing. Love where they're going with the builds. They have some players already there, so big time gets between Bernard and Palatine. I like where they're going. I can see the Hawkeyes being relevant again. If we get Bismack to be the player that similar to his first player, Iowa certainly headed in a good direction in the Big Ten. And when you start to talk about the Big Ten and you think about the teams, Indiana, we haven't seen anybody sign in Indiana yet. Michigan, I think Michigan is limited, probably can only sign people during the recruiting portal. We see what Michigan State is doing. So the Big Ten should be a little bit more competitive this year. At least that's the way I'm looking at it. Then we see Mike Saluki coming over to South Carolina. Big get for the Gamecocks. Certainly, you need to fill up that roster after Penny Dimes leaving. I like this move for the Gamecocks. I believe Saluki is also slated to come in and try to be the assistant head coach there, if I'm not mistaken. So that should be good for Shimmy, who's taken over the reins at South Carolina. I like this signing a lot. Saluki kind of took a back seat last season. Certainly can see him being more of a go-to guy for the Gamecocks. Like it, SEC, if you think about it, you've got Kentucky, and then you talk about Mississippi State, which we just had a lengthy conversation. But the Gamecocks obviously would have taken a step back, but with the loss of Penny Dimes, but I can see, a little bit of the build starting to happen there. Shimmy, now you add Saluki, some good foundational pieces. Really like it a lot for South Carolina. And then the last one on the board right now that just came through, Jason Gish, to Marquette. Marquette obviously needs a lot of help. You're seeing already what, the penny dimes to Providence. You're seeing Ganacas to St. John's. You're starting to see that Big East build. Now you've got Gish to Marquette, and Marquette needs pieces. They need pieces. They need rotate. They need players for their rotation, whether that is starters and or rotational pieces. Gish kind of brings in that rotational piece at the power forward spot. Good signing for Rusty. Hopefully Gish, you get Coolman maybe starting to lean in there. You have Acre Wood there. So Marquette, you've got Gilsack there as well at the center spot. So Marquette has some pieces, but I think they still have some work to do. Obviously, last season was a big season for them. They went 10-1. Do I think they can repeat that? Probably not. But you still got a lot of recruiting left to go, both between today and the transfer portal, as well as prospect recruiting. So I like where the signings that I've seen. Talent is being spread around. It's not one team dominating the recruiting portal. Again, we still have some really good players that we have yet to see. We'll talk more on Friday night if we do an additional Wired Up. Perfect example. X-Face said, curious to see where names like Iverson, Vasco, Swoosh, Booty Cheeks, Thomas ends up. So, Rames ends up, rather. So there are some good pieces that are still out there that we have not seen. I'm going to check league chat just because, again, I haven't seen any of these guys. We see Saluki. We see Gish. Just trying to see if there was any. Sorry, I wanted to see if anybody posted anything else. So yeah, so I like where a lot of the signings have gone so far. Talent being spread out. It's a good sign for the league. We have not seen anybody sign yet at Colorado. There's some teams that obviously I like. That I know Wichita State is certainly going to make some waves today, potentially. At least that's what I had heard. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But then, you've got Gonzaga, who has not. You haven't seen Gonzaga's name mentioned much. You haven't seen who else. Kentucky really probably not going to be able to do too much. Murray State has been absolutely quiet. So there are some. North Carolina, another team. Duke, another team, very quiet so far. Texas Tech, very quiet. UCLA, starting to. I think they made one signing today that I don't think it was posted. There was one guy that signed for UCLA. I forget who it was. But they nabbed somebody today, so that's good. So NER grabbed somebody there. Virginia Tech, very quiet. Washington, very quiet. So we'll see. I think you got probably an announcement probably coming there from Brandon Powers. So I like where I'm seeing. There's a lot of diversity in who we've seen out there. Bama has been absolutely quiet. There's a lot of still to comes with regards to signings, but we'll talk more about it Friday. But just to that was a quick throw out there of a Wired Up. Oh, Brandon Powers is going to post now, so we'll talk about that here briefly in a second. There it is, Brandon Powers to UCLA. I think that might have been the one from earlier that I was missing. But yeah, no, nobody's sleeping on Kentucky. Big Dog. Nobody's sleeping on them. I'm just saying you guys aren't out there as much as some other teams on the recruiting trail from a transfer perspective, just based on cap probably. Cade Padgett, that's a big get for the Bobbies. Big get for the Bobbies there. Ohio locks in a really strong shooting guard. You like that a lot. Yeah, Ray, I would like to do this for the prospect recruiting too. I wish I would have had somebody been able to join me just to talk about this stuff, but it was kind of impromptu. So we did this in years past. I think we're going to try to get back to it as long as I'm home to be able to do it, and I don't have much going on today. So, but that's a huge get for the Bobbies. Now they add Now they add who was the other person that went? Yeah, they had Romano, which was a good piece, and now they add Cade Padgett, who last season at why am I drawing a blank? At Arkansas, Padgett was more of a secondary piece, or at least I should say he was a secondary piece. I think he was involved in the offense a decent amount, but I don't think he was their number one player, at least in their offense. I do like that ad for the Bobbies, though. And then now Brand Diddley to Marquette, another mid-level piece, in my opinion, to Marquette. So Marquette kind of trying more of that rounded-out roster from what I can see. But that's so far from where I am. We'll see where they end up. I mean, can't sleep on Rusty. Rusty always does a good job. I've seen him do more with less talent. So we know Rusty can coach. Last year is a perfect example on the great season he had. But yeah, I like what I'm seeing from some of these teams. And again, some really big pieces have yet to announce. So we'll see how that plays out throughout the day. But we'll do more of a general recap on Friday night. I'll try to get Csba or somebody else and wired up with me, and we'll really break down rosters of what we're seeing so far from some of these teams. But so far, that's the early take. I do like where it's going. I do like that some of these teams are really, digging in deep. A couple of them are just making minor splashes, and then the real work will come during regular recruiting tomorrow. So, love what I'm seeing. Keep it up, guys. Congratulations to all the signees so far. But yeah, some big names announced already, and still more to come. So, if I have time later, maybe I'll jump on again. But love what I'm seeing so far. Congratulations to all the teams that nab players. Congratulations to those players on changing teams. Remember, guys, if you do sign your transfer, make sure after you've announced, you've posted in the commitments channel so that we can make sure that is your letter of intent for the upcoming season. So that's what we'll do for the prospects as well. So see you guys in a little bit in league chat, but I appreciate you all tuning in for this midday wired up. And like I said, just want to get on out there and talk a little bit about the exciting season 12 that we got coming up. So keep it coming. And again, we are still looking for some players. I think we're a few short. So remember that blue chip and